watching the Sean and
Tamara show.
And today we're going to be looking at our first day of broadcast. And while we only have two, it's kind of interesting to juxtapose the first one and the second one. And today we don't really have that much to say because a lot of the preparation and everything else that went into it happened yesterday. But where most of the stuff happened, rather, was with Tamara, who was with a lot of the women as they recorded their stories. So, Tamara, how was that?
Oh, well, Sean, since yesterday, most of preparations were done yesterday. Today was just an amazing feedback from the women in terms of how well they had managed to understand CEDAW, and they were really able to articulate that well in their response for how their issues were and what linkages was made to the CEDAW. And a lot of women had the similar situations that they were facing, particularly those in Nandarivatu, and Nandarivatu is up near the Monasavo Dam, but strangely they don't have electricity, and they're right next to the Monasavo Dam, who caters for electricity for whole of Fiji, but they don't have it. And so there was a proposed made that this particular area in Nandarivatu use solar energy, but then those who made the proposal didn't take into account that it rains like majority of the time up in Nandarivatu, and it's because it's up in the mountains, so it's like usually cloudy. Where are you supposed to get solar? So that was like giving a solution that they didn't really know what the real situation is, so they were being somewhat ignorant, I could say. And there's this other lady, so she made the link between how she would want to be public and political life, that's CEDAW Article 7, how she wanted good representation for women, especially at the local level, because there was an incident 3 years ago that happened to her niece, who was in an accident, a hit and run accident, and there was no reports taken, but it was just like a couple, just I wouldn't say 5 minutes, 2 minutes away from the police station. And but then she was persistent, so she insisted that they keep bringing it up, and then so she said she was sort of not harassing in a bad way, but like persistent in reminding and telling the police officers that this and this, and with the new officer in charge for the police, she managed to get the case back this year. And so she really wanted to make sure that there was good representation, and also with having equality amongst the citizens here in Tavua, especially because whenever they would go to the police station or anywhere, to the town council here, they wouldn't take them seriously, just probably because one of the ladies said the gender, or because they from the rural areas, so they wouldn't take them seriously. And because the niece still today, she she sort of said that she suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder, so every now and then she's stressed, and then she feels nervous and anxious about crossing and stuff like that. So I guess overall, all the women, the 15 plus women, so around 25 of them showed up today, so it was really great. They really made linkages between their issue and CEDAW.
So that was our day today, basically, and I sort of sat behind the console because that's where I feel comfortable. And also, I'm a little bit useless in that I only speak English, and I know it's not useless, but it makes things a little bit difficult, particularly when you're working in rural areas where people are a lot more comfortable not speaking in English. But I did volunteer to sit behind the console today, and that was perfectly fine with me. So we only have one more full day left, and that's tomorrow, and it's another broadcast from 9 to 3. And so we'll be telling you what the women had to say then, basically, as well as their sort of response, because there'll be a completely different set of women coming tomorrow. And the thing is, what I noticed the most was it was kind of weird that they did take so well and so quickly to these ideas. I think they did have a lot of time to reflect about their kinds of issues, and I guess it was really handy in the way that our executive director communicated the message of, this is policy, but this is relevant to you as you see fit. You have to make it relevant because it is meant to work in your favor. And I think that's something that hasn't happened before for these women, particularly because the only training that they've ever had is sort of economic projects and everything else, so sort of income generation. So it's very interesting that these women are picking it up and taking it, and it'll be really nice to see how far they'll go with it. So, yeah, and on Sunday we'll be bringing you another montage for the highlights of our week-long trip, and I won't spoil it anymore.
No. Yes, and so that was basically part of the day that we had today. So, for the women here in this Raki and Tavo, I noticed that they know what issues that they really want to talk about. So they're just waiting for someone to come there and just explain detailed and in simple terms, because one of the ladies said that majority of the workshops that they attended, they wouldn't be people wouldn't explain to them these legal terms, such as regarding especially the civic education, what constitution is.
Yeah.
So most of them are just left out. So I think it's really important that you explain all the terminologies and break it down so that people can understand and not just nod their head and say yes. So they're actually taking into account everything and how it relates to them.
There, and you can try again to shove some policy language down a normal person's throat, but it's not going to take unless you realize that you need to make it relevant and you need to make it applicable to both their situation as well as to their level of understanding, because there are so many people that may not have had the privilege that we've had, particularly reaching tertiary education, even reaching secondary education. And that's just the reality here. So thank you very much, and that was the Shan and
Tamara Show.